I don't want to leave Joe in Phoenix on hold too long. Joe in Phoenix, Arizona is on the line. What's up, Joe? How you doing, man?
Good morning, James. I'm hobbling along today, actually. I got my new horse home, but the first ride I took a misstep dismounting him and fractured my ankle.
Oh, man. Be careful, man. Wow.
Which is why I couldn't call in the next day for Kashan the Don. I was really disappointed. I wanted to talk to him more, but oh well.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll have him back, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I like having him on. I appreciate that guess.
So
Well,
I'm
get
walking
well.
around
Heal
with
up, man. Make sure that
with
you...
a walking boot.
yeah, make sure you get some circulation down there to your ankle so that you heal.
Yeah. Thanks, bud. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So going back a couple weeks, I think it was Alex in California was talking about how I was wrong about Robert E. Lee and things I was saying about him. So I just wanted to, again, keeping Romans 12:19 in mind, I'm going to gently say, listen, go to the National Park Service website. They have a whole page on Lee. And you'll see that, yes, he did separate slaves' families, and yes, he did sell the slaves off. And the caller said, well, how could he sell slaves off when slavery was ended after the war was over?
Yeah.
Hello? The Emancipation Proclamation was done in 1863. 2 years still, the war had to go. And just because it was issued does not mean that it was accepted everywhere. I mean, that's what Juneteenth is all about. It just took a while. There was no Twitter or nightly news to tell everybody. It wasn't like it was issued and the next day all the slaves were just walked away free. It didn't happen that way.
Yeah. Of course. Even at the end of the war, some people didn't even know that the war had fully ended.
Exactly. There was actually battles months after Lee surrendered to Grant at Appomattox.
Oh, so, wow. Interesting.
You know,
so, So you referred him to the National Parks Service website?
Yeah. Arlington House is the name of the page. They have a whole page on Lee.
Oh, because of Arlington's... Arlington is a historic place, and it has some history written down there on the government website.
Yeah, so everything I'm saying about him is written right there. You can see for himself the doubting me calling you.
Okay.
So, again,
I think generally the caller is Daniel in Texas, who knows a lot about his Civil War history. Not Alex in California, generally.
I forgot who it was.
Okay.
And is Joel still around? I heard him talking about Trump being this great guy earlier. I wanted to ask him. The Big Bump couldn't say one single thing good about Trump, and I wanted to ask Joel what was one thing Trump did in his first term that he liked.
Oh, okay. Joel is within earshot, but you'll have to just call his. You'll have to call his show.
No worries.
To ask him that. He's on. Have you ever listened to his show or caught it?
I have not. I have not called his show or heard his show yet.
Okay, well, it's Joel Friday TV on YouTube, and he's also on Instagram Tuesdays and Thursdays. Joel Friday TV. I
will try, but they asked me to get back involved with the 4-H group in my community here, and I've been doing that. So it's been keeping me busy in the afternoon. So it could be why I haven't heard his show yet.
Oh, okay. Well, you're in Arizona, so it's 10 a.m. your time right now, right?
It is.
And so it's 11 a.m. your time that Joel is on, just so you're aware. 11 to 12.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Well, that's all I have today.
Now, I don't know, like, you said that Robert E. Lee, according to the National Park Service website, sold slaves off and separated families.
Correct.
What's wrong with that?
You'll see that. Well, it's evil personified in both ways, if you ask me. But
it's evil personified to sell slaves and separate the families.
100%. Yeah.
How is it evil personified?
Not to mention,
personified.
I told you before that
personified. It's not personified. It's evil. It may be an evil act. But how is it evil?
Well, separating families, I mean, first of all, slavery itself is an absolute pure form of evil. To treat people like chattel and own them and strip them of all their humanity, that's evil to begin with.
But you're adding to it, because slavery itself is just you have to work for free, and you're owned by me, and you have to stay here, and you can't run off, and I have to take care of you, and you have to work for me.
And there's no hope of bettering yourself. You can't learn to read or write. That's actually illegal. You have no control.
It's illegal to learn to read and write.
Body.
Yeah. In the States, it was illegal for slaves to be able to read and write. Interesting.
Exactly. So you can't better yourself. You can't use your brain at all to expand your mind, learn anything. You got to stay in a state of ignorance. You have no control over your body or your family.
You have some control though, because you're I got to go to the bathroom, boss, or whatever. Master, I got to go to the bathroom. No, we got to wait.
Listen to what you're saying. That's evil, James.
I don't think... It depends on how you're treated. It depends on how the master treats you.
Nope.
If the master treats you well, then it's still not ideal, but it's a situation.
The condition itself is evil, James.
What's that?
The condition itself is absolutely evil. It was done for economic reasons at all, to exploit the working base and dehumanize people. And
you keep on using this dehumanize people. Maybe some of them did. I heard that people. You told me that one quote, the sarcastic quote from the fictional book Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn about did any people die? No, just some N-words.
Exactly.
And so I get that people are demeaning of one another and hating one another and dismissive of the value of their fellow human beings' lives. Just like with abortion today. People try to dehumanize babies. The unborn children, they dehumanize them. Or Trump supporters are dehumanized today by certain people. And I get that that's wrong, but there's got to be some masters who are like, no, this is a fellow human being, and I'm going to treat him right. He can't read, but other than that, maybe he can even buy his freedom. Some of them did buy their freedom.
Some of them did. Very few cases, but yeah, some of them did.
And anyway.
Yeah, but the condition itself, and I know we just disagree, and that's fine.
And the reason I say separating families is not necessarily evil is that that's by force. That's from an outside source. I've made this point to you before, I think. As opposed to a father and mother not getting along and we don't love each other anymore. We're going to divorce or stuff like that. I think
divorce is terrible too. We agree on that.
That's from an evil within. The outside forces separating you. That's just life sometimes. Life separates families. And so
I'm very, very fortunate that there's very little divorce in my family or my wife's extended family. So
I heard same here. Yeah, I've very little divorce in my family either. I've heard that I heard that one radio host years ago looked into it and found that for the most part the slave masters kept the slaves' families together because they worked better as families. Had you ever heard that before? Have you ever looked into such a claim?
I had not. I'd have to research that claim to see if that's true or not.
Yeah. And we didn't necessarily castrate the slaves like the Arabs did. And the Arabs are in some ways, I hate to say this, it's an ugly statement and I disavow it, but they're better off in some ways because they don't have to deal with the ingrate descendants, the ungrateful descendants.
Well,
whereas we do.
The Arabs were clearly involved in the transatlantic slave trade, but so was. I know Jesse had to say it wasn't the whites, but it absolutely was.
Well, there were some white Jews who were involved, and maybe I'm sure some white Christians involved. Everybody was involved, including blacks. In terms of owning and selling, blacks.
That's absolutely true.
Blacks owned slaves, and have you looked into the claim that blacks were harsher slave masters in America than the who had been former slaves? They've been former slaves, and they were harsher slave masters than the white masters.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah, me neither. It makes sense, sort of.
Based on the trauma they went through. But it's interesting if you look back at you can still see the actual documentation of the companies in Europe that definitely sold shares of slaves too.
Shares of slaves?
I didn't know. Yeah. Like almost like a present day stock.
Like a stock. I own this amount of share in this one slave, or this number of slaves in one share.
Exactly.
Okay, wow, interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, you have multiple countries doing that, and so everybody has their hand in that pot, unfortunately.
Right, and it's such a long past, distant evil, and I'll agree with you. There was some evil involved, of course. That
I don't think the whole thing was evil, but go ahead.
that it seems silly for the self-righteous people today to be going on and on and on about slavery as it's so evil, because they're doing evil today. They're doing abortion. They're pushing the LGBT stuff. They're dividing the races. They're dehumanizing the Trump supporters. They're dehumanizing one another. They're hating. They're divorcing. We have so much evil present day that it seems silly and petty and self-righteous to be righteously condemning Hitler and the slavery and all that stuff, you know?
No, we disagree on that, but you mentioned Trump, and I heard you say that I was excitedly waiting for the trial to start. That's not true, James.
Oh, okay.
I'm not. I don't have an axe to grind with Trump. I really don't. I just, if he did the crimes and they can prove it in a court of law, then he should go to prison. That's all I care about. Holding him accountable like any other citizen. That's all.
Well, you're blind though, man. You're blind because you think that JLP is a fake preacher and Obama was this great president. And you have your cherry-picked facts that you like to reference that justify your beliefs about Obama. But I just say that you're a blind intellectual, man. But anyway, that's fine. You can be a blind intellectual and think that about Trump. It means nothing to me. If I get bothered by your
for proof, James.
If I get bothered by your falling to the communist intellectual attack on our greatest president, then that's shame on me. You know, shame on me for being bothered by that.
Communist and intellectual, James. I'm not calling you any names. You're calling me the names. So
well, I'm not calling you names. Those are adjectives. Communist, intellectual. But it's also those are also names. Yeah, you're a communist. You're an intellectual. Commie Joe, intellectual Joe. I don't mind calling. I'm calling you names, but I'm not doing it maliciously.
Although I don't mind the intellectual, because yes, I worked hard on my intellect. I worked hard on my education. So yes, I'm an intelligent person.
No, wouldn't you rather be intelligent than intellectual, though?
I'm both.
But you lack intelligence sometimes because you are blind to JLP's wisdom and the truth that he brings and the love that he shines in the world.
We see that very differently.
Right.
But going
I see Trump, it and you don't.
Starting on the 25th, and I see it as, again, he says some things that I 100% agree with and that I think are great, and
right.
that I support, and then he says things that are, I think, absolutely evil and are absolutely prone to encourage more insane people to do violent things. And that is my problem with him.
Right. Yeah, you just have this blindness to you. It's fine.
That's all right. All right. Well, I've been on long enough, James. You have a great day. I'll call you again when my ankle feels better.
You as well. Get well, man. Heal up.
Thanks, man.
Bye. Jaime in Minnesota. Jaime, how you doing, man?
Hey.
Hey.
I'm doing pretty good.
Right
how
on.
Are you doing?
What did you say?
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Thank you.
That's good. I wanted to talk about the slavery, and I think your point is correct. You know, it's something that happened in the past, and it's not happening here in the U.S. anymore. Anybody alive, I've heard you guys saying this quite a bit, anyone alive now has never been through what that slavery was.
Right.
So
yeah, we don't know. It is, people get into their imagination. You can even read true factual things and get into your imagination about, for example, what the Bible says. So when you're reading true factual things about history, you get into your imagination, you have no clue what those slaves felt, or I mean, you do hear what they write. Some of them did end up writing, or some of what they said was documented or written about by other people, but you are not there. So anyway,
Right. And with what Joe is saying, he's got resentment over this, and it's not helping him to help other people. This resentment that he has over racism and slavery, and it's blinding him from the real issues of life.
yeah, it is. When you're caught up in judging something and just like gushing about how evil it is, you might want to check yourself, because he's talking about dehumanizing and all this stuff, and it wasn't universally that. First of all, I don't think, and on top of it, you want to be, like you said, not caught up in judging that, because then you're just stuck on that one issue, and you're not really seeing life. You're missing life.
Right, and Joe doesn't seem to be like a hateful outward person, a person who's hateful outward.
He does to me. Well, I've seen more of him than you, but in this recent call, you're right. He didn't come off that way.
He seems more like a person who's hateful inwards.
Whoa. Don't say inwards. Don't. Just kidding.
Like
inwardly,
himself.
inside, on the
Inwardly.
inside. Oh, toward himself?
Yeah. Toward himself, like
oh, interesting.
where his anger comes from.
Like not one to lash out, for example, like violently as much, or blame everybody else. Is that what you mean?
Right. I don't know. He doesn't seem to attack outwardly, but inwardly. He's mad, but he doesn't. He's not explosive.
Oh, okay.
He's implosive.
Oh, true. Yeah, I mean, that happens. That's a lot of people. Might be his white side. You know how whites are hold their resentment inward. They hold it inside of themselves and don't express it, because it's not okay. You just have to be nice. Some whites are like that. He might be like that.
Right. And when
that what
Joe's
you mean?
Not, yeah. And when Joe's talking, he does say some facts, and they're interesting.
Right.
But then this side of him comes out, and then it gets really hard to listen to what he's saying, because he has too much emotion behind the words. Like, he cares too much about it.
Yeah. True.
And it comes off phony. But
yeah.
To me, like the slavery thing, that's so long ago. It's nobody's a slave here in America.
Right.
There's other countries I've heard. I don't know for sure that people are enslaved.
Right.
And a point someone else had made is, why don't people go over there to those other countries and, try to help the people that are enslaved over there? Why are they over here?
Slavery is not the only evil. If you hate this, if you're looking down on the slave owner, you're evil too. Like, it's kind of like these people who fall all over themselves about the Holocaust, like hating that, it's going to happen again if we don't fight it. But if you're fighting hate, you're engaging in hatred with other people who are hating, and so you're just two devils fighting. You're going to bring the attack upon yourself, something that might not have otherwise happened had you known how to act. You know what I mean?
I think one of your callers likes to say, if you don't learn your history, you're doomed to repeat it. Or something like that.
Right.
And I've thought about that. I've heard it when I was younger. And
Me too.
Now I think that's kind of a dumb saying. If you are resentful about it and reminisce about it and ruminate on it, you're going to repeat it.
Yeah.
So it's better to forgive and forget.
Yep. Yeah. It's kind of nice to know stuff that's going on in the world that has happened, but it's more important to know yourself and the selfishness within. That way you can understand history better. You can understand other people in the present day better, because you know human nature better, because you know your own evil human nature. A lot of people think, oh, most people are good. I saw this post months back from Lex Fridman, who is a competitor, and he said most people are good. I'm like, that's not true. You know what I mean? So that person, he may know a lot of stuff, a highly intellectual and even maybe intelligent person on some level, but he has a basic false assumption about human beings that's misguided.
Right. And, I tune into the Hake report to listen about the news, but also to listen to the spiritual side of things.
Nice.
But when I listen to the news, it's just for, entertainment. It's just to know what's going on.
Yeah.
I can't actually do anything about what's happening in New York or in California.
Exactly.
Nor would I, but I do know what I can do here around me, pay my bills, go to work.
Right.
Take care of my family.
Yeah, there's this false self-importance about stuff that's going on in the world. We don't really have to know that much. We can know a little bit. I really admire people who know a lot about what has happened and what is happening. But we get caught up. People get caught up in that stuff. And then in the meantime, their own lives are falling apart,
Right. I think yesterday you had the two callers, the one guy from Texas who knows a lot about the war, the Civil War, was it? And there was another guy from, Florida or something?
No, he was from Meade.
Alabama?
Meade from Virginia.
Okay, well, I listened to those two guys, and the guy from Texas, he's a smart guy. He's intelligent.
Yeah.
He knows about it, but he has this disconnection with that topic. He enjoys it.
Yeah.
But he's not a part of it.
Right. He's not wrapped up with
Virginia,
his identity is not caught up with it.
Right. The guy from Virginia, he knows his stuff, but he's wrapped up in it, and it's very off-putting.
Yeah.
And
that's what I was trying to tell him. Meade in Virginia. You're right. He even talked about how he's like a descendant of multiple generations, and it's part of his identity. You don't want to fall for that. And I love the white identity people and all that, but you don't want to get caught up to where you're passionate and emotional about it. You're going to divide unnecessarily from a decent fellow man like Daniel, who would generally be on your side. Go ahead.
Right, and it's that. And the same thing with Joe is he's too wrapped up in his blackness or his whateverness.
Yeah.
That he could be, a very good service to other people, but if he just wasn't so wrapped up in things.
It's interesting, too, because a lot of these guys, like, if you were to ask Joe in Phoenix, he would probably tell you that he's just following right and wrong. A lot of people think that they're just following right and wrong, and they don't realize the influence is on them.
Yeah, I wonder if Joe from Phoenix would take some counseling from,
from
the
JLP?
best side of this heaven, the best counseling on this side of heaven.
Yeah.
Because, some people just need help to see.
Yeah.
To know how to look.
Right.
But yeah.
That's exactly what Big Bump tried to say to Mark from Los Angeles about getting caught up and having your identity, having this be part of your identity. Mark from Los Angeles really is passionate about what's happened to America and white Americans. And it's off-putting like what you said about Meade. And even Joe has that same false identity spirit that's not manly and it's not right. Nice, man.
It'd be interesting to see a different kind of Joe, Mark, and Mays after counseling.
Nice. Well, that's a kind suggestion. Something to consider. Appreciate you, Jaime. Take care, man.
You have a good day.
You as well. Bye.